I was at breaking point.
This is possibly the worst place in the world to find enlightenment.
I want to tell you a story about a man seeking enlightenment, a story about his boss who made him do so, and a story about the place in which he had to find it. That man was me, and that story begins with an email. My boss tasked me to find enlightenment in the world's largest Starbucks. A 5-story hub of consumerism, it seemed an unlikely place to find inner peace. But what was an intern to do? Like Po and Kung Fu Panda, I had been challenged by Master Oogway to find my path. What? So I awoke on a brisk Sunday morning at 6:46 a.m., ready to transcend human existence. At least I was armed with the company card. My original plan was to move through the floors and gradually ascend to the 5th floor balcony, where I assumed enlightenment would be in reach. However, there was no seating on the 1st floor, and as the crowd descended upon the building, seating became increasingly competitive. I had to change my strategy. For the first few hours, I tried to work, scope out my environment, and drink in the delights it had to offer. All of this, of course, on the company dime. It has to be said, I was not awfully impressed with what the world's largest Starbucks had to offer.
Seriously mid. Seriously mid.
I then realized from my initial analysis of the building that there were no outlets. None at all.
Any normal person would assume that that's an outlet. And it looks like an outlet, but it is in fact not an outlet, except for the lights, which use some kind of different system than everyone else.
My anxiety ramped up as I suddenly faced my impending digital detox. I mean, who builds a 5-story building with no outlets?
3 hours down, 10 to go. I think it's time to get another coffee. I'm thinking enlightenment may strike around hour 7, but right now it's just crazy busy. I've done very little work. I called my mom. She had nothing to say. She had no tips on enlightenment. I think another coffee, some more caffeine will it'll get me on the path, but there are very few tables. No one is working here because there are no outlets. So I think everyone is just kind of enjoying the coffee. Like you couldn't work on it.
Given the desperation of my situation, I found a new location and bought a new drink in the hopes that this would reignite the fire that would bring me to enlightenment.
You know, I haven't been feeling serenity. I haven't been feeling peace. It's very hectic in here. And I think this is what's going to kind of get me on that path. So without further ado, here is the first sip. You know, I think I had high hopes, and I would say they weren't met. My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. This is worse than the last one, and also cost $11. It's not my money, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, what am I doing here? What am I actually doing? Like, what am I doing? I think hour 4 is the hour that's going to claim the life of my laptop, and then I'm actually truly fucked. There is literally nowhere to go after hour 4. I have a book. I've got the book.
And then half an hour later, it happened.
It's hour 4.5, and my laptop has just died. So now I am truly lost.
I had only one option, to read my way to enlightenment. Perhaps some ancient religious scripture would have helped me here. But I had to compromise with a book about the next best thing. A boy who lives in the trees. Those trees were a far cry from my current state and began to sound pretty enlightening. Regardless, by hour 7, I was growing peckish and became hopeful that a meal would bring me to a state of spiritual awakening. The only issue? The line was huge.
It's hour 7. I would say things have taken a lull. I spent most of the last hour waiting in line to order this food and then waiting for the food. I got eggs in purgatory, which is kind of how I feel, really. I could be this egg and a dark chocolate mocha. I think it's going to get to a point where it's time for desperate measures. I would say enlightenment is not calling yet. And I think I said earlier that I was feeling like it would be coming soon. I'm thinking enlightenment may strike around hour 7, so maybe it may yet strike. Maybe this meal will revitalize me. That being said, let's dig in. And maybe because I haven't eaten anything in 7 hours, the tomato sauce is very good. Tomato sauce is very good. The bread is quite crusty, but I'm with that. I quite like that. This is a solid meal.
With sustenance in my stomach, I finally felt some hope of enlightenment.
And maybe a turning point. But this warm meal, it was just like an embracing warm hug after 7 hours of hardship. Contemplation. Some would say failure. And you know what I saw? My boss, Alex, who tasked me to do this, he's gallivanting right now. This is on his Instagram story. I mean, I'm literally, that's a hot chocolate. I'm being taunted. He's out there in the world having fun, and that's what I should be doing. And instead, I'm trapped in corporate prison. It looks like Alex is pretty enlightened. Why didn't he send me to a field to drink hot chocolate? I think the last kind of 3 hours, I've really just been killing time. I just read my book. And luckily, I need to lock in on like finding enlightenment. Because otherwise, it's not going to happen, and I fear I will be fired, which would not be conducive to my career. But would mean I didn't have to ever do this again. There's warmth in my stomach, there's blood in my veins, passion in my bones, and there is a certain peace to this meal. There's a crazy music going overhead. People keep walking past, but I am very still. I am very peaceful.
However, the hope of the meal didn't last long. As soon as I returned to the chaos of the Starbucks, all semblance of enlightenment seemed to vanish immediately. In fact, the very fabric of reality began to decay before my eyes. As the flavor wheel began to whisper to me, I knew delusion was setting in. I had to take drastic action.
It's hour 8, things are getting pretty dire. I feel mainly just exhaustion, arguably nowhere close to enlightenment. Struggling to even remember what the goal is. So I thought I would try some yoga. Now my yoga knowledge is kind of limited, but I'm thinking a kind of downward dog situation might aid me here. The floor is quite greasy. Feeling a good stretch. I don't really know. This isn't downward dog. Is this cobra? I don't know. And then the only other one I know. My hands are slipping along the floor because it's so greasy. I think you kind of go like this. But I'm kind of just like sliding because of the state of this public bathroom into this kind of, okay. So, not the kind of place you want to be doing yoga. It was a nice thought, I think, but I think I'm gonna have to find another way to enlighten myself here, because the floor is in fact too greasy to do yoga, but it did feel good, and I think it helped relieve some stress.
For hour 9, I turned back to an old friend, hoping that the combination of the meal and my yoga attempt may have opened my mind to its possible enlightenment. When this attempt reaped no rewards, I reached my lowest point. I began to doubt the very fabric of my undertaking.
The only quiet place in this entire building is the bathroom. The idea that I could find enlightenment here is like, I don't think it's possible. I really don't think it's possible. Like I've been here I'm on hour 10, okay? I don't know what to do. I actually don't know what to do. If anything, I've got further from enlightenment by being here. I'm like agitated. I'm not an angry person, and I'm mad. I'm like Sisyphus in the fucking boulder. But the boulder, like, there's not even a top of the mountain. I'm going down the mountain. I'm being rolled by the boulder. What even is enlightenment? I don't even know. And everyone else who's here is here with someone else. They're like having a nice time, and I'm just like sitting here. Like, it's like trying to find peace in like the busiest mall in the world. The world's largest Starbucks. I feel like I need a lobotomy. Like, I feel like I need to be put down, like sedated. I thought like as the evening went on, it would get like less packed, but it's the same level of packed. It's been the same for 10 hours. People just I'm sure there's still a line out the door. Who is buying coffee at this hour? It's like 5 p.m. Why do you need coffee right now? I haven't cried in months. I actually might start crying. There's no way that any other intern has ever had to do this. I haven't achieved anything today. I've read a book. I did some work on my laptop. I've spent a lot of company money on Starbucks goodies. But have I learned anything? Not really. Just that I hate this place. One other thing. This place is like clearly not designed for someone to spend any length of time in. Very few of the chairs are comfortable. Almost none of the tables are ever free because everyone is always moving through them. It's like pretty cold. Like I'm wearing 3 layers right now. I'm in the bathroom. This is possibly the worst place in the world to find enlightenment. It's like this nagging, grating, nails on chalkboard experience. There's just people everywhere and they're all moving and it's so loud, and there's Christmas. I've been listening to Christmas music for 10 hours and I have no purpose. I was thinking it would be awful to be an employee here, but then you're just like making coffee. Whereas like I'm just sitting here contemplating, trying to find this thing that I can't even really define in the busiest place I think I've ever been. I'm gonna ask some other people about their thoughts on enlightenment, get some outside perspective. Then I'm gonna go to the rooftop terrace and just like rot until I make it out of here.
Things were dire. I trolled the building, desperate to find the enlightened among the mere mortals that filled every inch of every story. And then I spotted a man across the room who was so zen, so relaxed, possibly so enlightened that I knew I had to ask him for advice. I've managed to find the most peaceful person in the entire building, and I was just wondering if I could get your thoughts on enlightenment, anything about how you're just so peaceful in this such a busy place.
He's happy.
It's said that my heart grew 3 times in that moment. The baby giggled, I giggled, and we giggled together.
Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before.
I had spent the whole day trying to find enlightenment so desperately that I had ignored the beauty of my surroundings.
I should never come here with the goal of trying to find transcendence, because in doing that I got so stressed about trying to find transcendence and trying to experience it that I didn't even appreciate what was in front of me. You know, there were all of these beautiful moments, partly by the way the building is engineered, the lack of outlets, the small tables, the lack of seating. You know, people have to come together. Like I came together with that baby that I should have been looking for while I was here the whole time. You know, it's hour 11, just went hour 11, and I'm just stuck here watching people enjoy each other. The Christmas music is no longer like annoying. I don't know. I might just be delusional. Like I've lost all sense of direction since being here, and I think, ironically, this is the closest to transcendence I've come. I feel like transcendence is about finding inner peace with like who you are and what you do. And I was so stressed about what I was doing that I wasn't just enjoying what was in front of me. And that's all the baby can do. You know, it just like, it sees blobs and whatever, and it just giggles.
And so I texted Alex, telling him that I had completed my task, and he freed me. But suddenly, I didn't want to leave. I had a whole new perspective on my surroundings. Watching people go about their day with the people they love was so captivating that I felt invited to stay. However, when I communicated this to Alex, he called me a pussy. So I left. That breath of fresh air as I left was sensational. I was finally free, with a newfound appreciation of all those around me.
I may have never made it to hour 13. Clock's out at hour 11. But I think I achieved the transcendence I was supposed to achieve. I really do. Or like a new appreciation for life. Maybe it's because I was locked up in there for so long, just hating it. Life is beautiful, and you do have time. You do have time. Now I'm going home. I'm going home.
I went home, ready to complete Alex's next task, eating an entire Thanksgiving turkey alone.